Let's talk about Spain versus Switzerland. The game will be on Friday. Mark, I know you're going to have a close eye on this game. And I think the big talking point throughout, we've spoken about it on ESPN's Football Forecast, has been Morata consistently. And Spain as well, after 2 games, I think we'd all said, can't score, can they? Since then, they've scored 10 goals. Who is this Spanish side? Who are they? I'm confused.
Well, I mean, you're right about Morata. I watch Morata sometimes, and I'm watching it almost behind the sofa, thinking I feel so sorry for the guy. It looks like he's going through an ordeal every time he plays. He misses some easy chances. He gets bounced off the ball. He's not very strong physically. Then he's got a brilliant goal in the game against Croatia, and he's so hit and miss. But Chelsea fans will know exactly what Morata's about. He looks like a player that always plays low on confidence. But Luis Enrique's persisted with him, maybe because he hasn't got many other options, and he's still there. And I'm watching Spain. I'm thinking, this isn't a very good Spain team. It's not, anywhere near the class of the teams that, won 2 European Championships in the World Cup. You look at thinking this is like Spain from before they were good, when they were very lightweight, easy to beat. And then they've scored 10 goals in 2 games. They've beaten a very good Croatia team, a very kind of solid, physical Croatia team. And with France being not safe, you think all of a sudden, Spain can get to, can beat Switzerland, get to the quarterfinals. Italy, can they beat Italy or Belgium? Maybe not. But Spain have got obvious quality. The one thing I look at Spain, and this is a bit of a criticism of Pep Guardiola, and a very rare criticism. I think you're seeing with Spain what happens when you've had 10, 12 years of tiki-taka, of players that are just so comfortable on the ball, of playing without a striker, playing with a false 9. They haven't got a cutting edge. And Morata gives it to them very sporadically, but they haven't got that Fernando Torres, that player that peak, that a real striker that they need. If they had Robert Lewandowski in this team, or Harry Kane, I'd say Spain could win it. But they haven't, and I still think they are still a bit too soft and a little bit too predictable to win the tournament.
I've really enjoyed Spain over the last couple of games. I've got to say, one of the things that's been interesting is, I think, firstly, Alvaro Morata has been spurred on by the haters. All of those people who've criticised him and his family. I know he's spoken about it before. He seems to have come back with a renewed determination. Maybe it's just given him that added cutting edge, if you like. Maybe not so far, although the goal he took was very, very good. I think he's got a determination to prove everyone wrong. The other thing is this Spain team does create chances. And that's the other thing. If you get players in the box and you do create chances, you will score goals. And they have scored goals. And that is something that many other teams aren't doing at the moment in an abundance, creating goal scoring opportunities. By hook or by crook, it seems Spain are currently doing it. I've got huge question marks over the defence, though. There have been so many tweaks so far from Luis Enrique in terms of the Spain defence. Firstly, Aymeric Laporte of Manchester City. He hasn't been the player that he was 18 months ago, certainly this season for City, and it's coming to this competition as well for Spain. They need something more from him. He's meant to be an elite centre-half. He's got Eric Garcia beside him, who isn't. Pau Torres, for me, should start this game because I believe the Switzerland forwards are a handful. Of course, Brel and Bolo, big physicality, speed, ability as well. He could nick a goal. He hasn't got a great goal-scoring record for Switzerland, but I think he has used himself really, really well so far. He knows where his qualities are. The other two can definitely steal a goal. We saw it in the last game. Haris Seferovic, Gavranovic as well. He just seems to be a bit of a fox in the box. There's going to be plenty defensively for Spain to deal with. That's why I like the fact that they've brought back Cesar Azpilicueta, not necessarily for his goal-scoring ability, although he showed that with his first goal for his country, but I think he's got that level of experience playing on the right-hand side. You've got Jordi Alba, hugely experienced on the left. The goalkeeper, as we saw in the last game, is not hugely experienced. So they need those old heads at the back to help them out in this game, because I believe Switzerland will cause them a lot of pressure. And of course, the wing-back system as well. That for me adds another dimension to what Spain will have to deal with. I don't think they will change their shape. They don't necessarily have natural wingers playing in the wide areas, naturally tracking back. So that's another thing. They may well have to work on their defensive shape. I don't think it's really been severely tested in the last couple of games. I think it's going to come under big pressure if Switzerland play to their full potential. They've scored 3 goals in the last 2 games. I think that's more than they'd ever scored in the Euros before in a single game. They'd only ever scored 2. So they are in the goal-scoring form of their lives. Let's call it that. So I do think this is going to be an interesting contest. For me, the Swiss go into it as slight favourites. I don't know what you think about that. What do you think, James?
I've got to get your reasoning for that, first of all. Why do you put Switzerland as favourites?
Because for the simple question that you asked at the top, who are Spain right now? What exactly are they? That sense of identity in the team. That's why I think Switzerland, although they haven't been great, they haven't been a perfect team so far in this competition, but they're ranked number 10 in the world for a reason. And they know what they're doing with their shape, and they're beginning to settle down as the tournament goes on in terms of how they're playing it as well. So that level of assurance is the reason that I think they are slight favourites. They've met in the Nations League in 2020. Spain won one of them by a 0-0. The other one finished as a draw, 1-1. So these two are very evenly matched teams. But I think the forwards performance so far, as I outlined, I know Spain have scored a lot of goals over the last couple of games, but I think the Swiss back three, the wing back system, if they turn it into a back five, it's going to be a big test for Spain. It's going to be a big, big test for this Spanish forward line. That's why I make them slight favourites. But I guess you're going to tell me that you think Spain are going to come through comfortably.
Well, I think I totally get why you've put that forward, because I think, against the French, they were fantastic. And I also think, styles make fights a lot of the time. And interestingly, first of all, I don't believe Switzerland can keep out Spain. But I also agree with what Mark said a few minutes ago about, if you had Kane or Lewandowski up there, or even, Ronaldo, someone who's kind of waving his arms going, hurry up, the chances would fall to him. There would be a bit more cutting edge and pace to the way that they play. And I think they would be really, really scary, because they would be able to go from that possession-based style, 63% possession in the last game, but also have that cutting edge. And again, it always sounds really strange from all of us, isn't it, that we're saying this, because, they have scored 10 goals in the last two games. But then when you look at the style of Switzerland, and that Seferovic goal, that was, I heard someone call it was all neck. Like he jumped up, because I think it was Zuba with the cross, just floated there, and it was all neck from Severovic. And then think about Croatia versus Spain, and that goal that took it to extra time, and it was a similar thing. It was just a good cross in between the two centre backs. I agree with you. The centre backs for Spain have been poor at times, and they are porous as a side. So I think there will be goals in this. The reason I think Spain will win it is because with both teams playing extra time, I feel like Spain kind of finished very, very strong in that extra time. For Switzerland, they got themselves to penalties, which is wonderful, and won it, which again is wonderful. But I do feel like sometimes at this stage of the tournament, there is that kind of emotional exchange. And when you exceed expectations, I think it's the same problem that could happen for England, is that when something like that happens, you beat France, I think it's almost like you've hit this height and you've got to try and get yourself to go again and climb Mount Everest again. And I just wonder if they'll be able to have that same kind of energy. And I wonder if that water torture of passing from Spain, who have got better as the tournament has progressed, certainly going forward, I think that might just kind of wear them down as the game goes on. Mark, what do you think? What are your final thoughts on this game?
I do agree with you that I do make the Swiss slight favourites. And I think if you take away the Spain, the Switzerland thing, and you put two sets of players on the pitch, I think Switzerland are favourites. I just think they're a better organised team. I think Petkovic never gets any credit. He's been there for 7 years now in charge of the Swiss, and he's been a very, very solid manager. He's got a very good team there. They are a very good team. They haven't got a team of stars, but I think he's got them working fantastically well. I think they can definitely get past Spain. I don't think they'll get to the final. I think you look at the other quarter-final in this, Belgium or Italy, I think that's going to be a challenge. But I do think the Swiss can definitely beat Spain. I think they look stronger, physically a stronger team, better organised. And I think if Spain had picked Sergio Ramos, I think that might have made a difference, just to give that leadership in there, that centre half to organise. And you're right about Unai Simon. He's not very experienced, but just having Ramos there would make such a difference. It'd knit it all together, and also such a threat from set pieces further forward. So I think that the absence of Ramos could ultimately cost Spain in this game, because they'll need that physical presence, which Busquets has brought back a little bit, but there's not enough of it for me. So I think you take away, like I say, Spain, the Switzerland element, you look at the pedigree of the teams, look at the two teams on the pitch, Switzerland are the favourites.
Wow. Okay. So final prediction then, Mark. Give us your scoreline, and then we'll come to you, Hugh.
I think it's going to be very, very tight. I think either 2-1 to the Swiss in extra time or penalties again.
Oof.
I agree. Very, very tight. I think it'll end 2-2 in normal time, and I think the Swiss will win it 3-2 in extra time. But yeah, this one could be a marathon. What about you, James?
Okay, I'm going to go. I think Spain will score goals. That's what's happening now. Those group stage days are gone. I think they score 3, and I think Switzerland will score, but I think it could be 3-1, 3-2 to Spain in normal time.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.